Hey there, just wanted to say hello and thank you so much for checking out this how-to video on my YouTube channel. Just wanted to first give a quick disclaimer. I am not your licensed managing broker if you're watching this, and regardless of what brokerage you're at. I am a real estate professional that has done many different things across the real estate industry. So I'm just going to share my setup, my experience, what I teach and recommend. Use it as you will. At your own risk. The stuff that I have done, I know has worked for me. But if you do have any questions, you're a newer experienced agent and you're just not sure, please go ahead and ask your licensed managing broker. But feel free to use what I'm doing. I am based in the state of Texas, so the things that I share and show are going to be Texas related. But if you're a real estate agent in Texas, or you're just trying to get a feel for real estate practices or best practices in general, feel free to jump right into my how-to. Thanks so much for watching. Please go ahead and subscribe.
All right, everybody, if you're here, you're ready to learn how to do the perfect buyer consultation. And of course, that's just a good, catchy title. Nothing's ever perfect. However, when I tracked my numbers, probably over the last 4 years or so, I, on average, got almost 80% of all buyers that I had a buyer consultation with on a buyer's representation agreement. So that means only 2 out of every 10 or so on average ended up not working with me, or I ended up not working with them. You didn't always get the buyer consultation signed on the first appointment, or the buyer's representation agreement, but the consultation sets the stage for getting that representation agreement. And I personally am a big advocate of always having a representation agreement. It protects you, it protects your brokerage, it protects the buyer, and it creates a professional or cements a professional relationship. So imagine going to the doctor and them not having you fill out any paperwork, or imagine going to an attorney or a CPA and them not having you fill out any paperwork. People that are conducting professional transactions are used to and comfortable with professional paperwork. It's just all about how you position it, and it's all about how you position yourself. So imagine if a doctor just ran out to your house because you weren't feeling well and then said, oh, by the way, fill out all these papers and I'll get you some medicine. You'd be like, what kind of doctor is this guy, right? So that's what we're doing when we're just driving up to a house, showing up and saying, here you go, let me open it. Do you want to write an offer? They're like, well, no. What kind of offer? What are we talking about, right? They just don't treat us as a professional. But when you set the stage more formally, more correctly, and you say, let's have a professional consultation. I want to sit down and advise you as a real estate professional. I want to get to know you and understand you. And then, by the way, I'm going to ask you to fill out some paperwork for our protection and make sure we want to work together. They're much more comfortable doing that. So anyways, I had a good batting average with what I'm about to show you. This is revamped a little bit. So first, I actually will ask you, I'm going to splice in an old video here because I think there's some good stuff in this old video. It's about 3.5 minutes and talks about 2 of the most important phases of a buyer consultation. The first being initial contact, and the second being rapport building. And then it gets to what I call the fun. So watch this part. It's about 3.5 minutes. It's a little bit older material, but I still thought, again, there were some good points to the initial contact portion specifically and to the rapport building. And then I'm going to splice in my newer stuff right after that. Here we go.
What's up? This is a quick explanation of how the BC sheet will help structure your flow with a buyer in a buyer consultation, right? So part 1 of the buyer consultation of any interaction is that initial contact, right? And you should use, basic initial contact techniques that we've talked about quite a bit when you're kicking off that BC. Add value, get them laughing, build trust. One of those 3 things, secure yourself as an authority. One of those basic initial contact techniques that we've always talked about. But this sheet should help you ask questions. So, hey, it was so nice to meet you guys. Ruben, I know, we've been talking for a long time. Awesome. I apologize. Remind me your name again. Vanessa. Okay, cool. Write down Ruben and Vanessa, right? All right, guys. And I know I've got your most updated contact information, Vanessa. Ruben, we've been going back and forth. Vanessa, here before I leave, I want to make sure to get your information so we can add you to our system here. As far as today goes, so thank you guys for coming in. Really appreciate it. Is this typically when you guys are available? Thursdays at 5, or do you always have Thursdays off, or what's your schedule? Oh no, we work this and that and this and that. Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. I see you brought, your little kid, your little son. Is that your only child, or do you guys have more at home? And oh no, we have a 13-year-old and 15-year-old and blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, okay, no. So is it just you two in the home, or who's going to be purchasing the home? Oh no, we have 3 kids. They're all in school. Oh, great. High school age, middle school, da-da-da. Oh, okay, cool. Family information. Great. Cool. Well, again, I know it's middle of the day. What do you guys, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for work? Where do you work? Where do you work? Oh, okay, cool. Cool. All right. Now, most importantly, guys, just to recap, I always like to make sure we know, why you're buying, kind of what that motivation is. Tell me the story, a little bit about, why you guys are looking to get in this new home. Oh, okay. Not a lot of space to write there, but in general, summarize your why, a couple words for yourself. This is all for you, right? And then I will be assessing what personality type they are. So make sure you're nailing that down for yourself. And you can kind of circle C and D, and at the end you can make more notes. You'll remember who's a C and who's a D. And then remind me, guys, again on the time frame, just so I can make sure everything that I'm talking about, we're referencing your time frame as specifically as possible. Cool. Okay, great. That's initial contact. This whole section reminds you what questions to be asking while you're making that initial contact. Rapport building, you will see in your training, you're going to use and follow the buyer book. So that's what we're going to do for rapport building. This yellow section, this is something you should extract through rapport building, and if not, remember to ask it very specifically before you break out of rapport building. And this is discussing the financing. The buyer book should take you to that, and you should be talking about that during that rapport building section, but don't forget to fill in this information. This is something you need to discuss and talk about. The green section, this is the fun at the end. This is what we're going to build up to after we've signed them up as a client. Most people want to go straight here. So you need to bring it back up here and just say, oh, absolutely, I want to talk about that here in a minute. We're going to, we're going to talk about that and definitely cover it. In fact, we're going to do something fun. That's why I brought my laptop with me. But if you don't mind, let's get through this basic stuff first here before we kind of talk too much about the search. I want to make sure we have a good foundation, before we jump straight to that. But we're definitely going to cover that before the end of the day. Cool? That's your BC sheet flow and how you use your BC sheet to help you kind of flow in your buyer consultation. All right, good luck. Oops.
Okay, so obviously that was a little bit older school stuff than what I'm going to show you right now, but I at least wanted you to see that because, again, if you take away a couple of those points from the initial contact about how to make people feel comfortable, how to ask them questions, all that sort of stuff. So now I'm going to jump in and share with you a couple of things here. Let me share this keynote with you. Keynote. Here we go. Let's get this thing presenting. All right. So here is how I run a perfect buyer consultation. Breaks down into 3 big phases with 1 small interjected phase. So the first phase is what I call the initial contact phase. You already saw that on the previous video. This is when literally from the time that they walk into the Starbucks or to the office you're meeting them at or wherever you're going until they feel comfortable. That's how long initial contact lasts. Sometimes initial contact, guys, lasts 15 or 20 minutes. Some agents like to get out of the BC in 15 or 20 minutes. How can your prospective client feel comfortable sometimes in 2 or 3 minutes if they've never met you? They can't. So that's what initial contact is all about. I'm going to show you the BC sheet that I use. BC just stands for Buyer Consultation. So I'm going to show you the BC sheet that I use, and I recommend you make your own. Feel free to copy mine, make it up on computer, or make your own. But the bottom line is you want to have some sort of flow, some sort of tool that's guiding you through this perfect consultation. And the most important part is the beginning. In the initial contact, you need to be building trust by relating and being relatable, by sharing, by learning, by listening, by shutting up. Initial contact is not about you, it's about them. It's not about you, it's about them. It's not about you, it's about them. People will feel the consultation went 100 times better if you talked about them more than you talked about you. Of course, you got to add your expertise and build some credibility, share your resume a little bit, you sprinkle it in, but the initial contact is about making them feel comfortable. The next phase is the rapport building phase. And this is where I believe it's extremely important, again, to have an aid, a tool, a sales aid. Literally, worst case scenario, it's a notebook. and you draw and write things down on a notebook. That's how I started for my first year in real estate. I was literally just drawing pictures, but I had something. More professional than that is to actually bring a buyer book, a packet you can have and go over with them or share with them, or to have a formal buyer presentation. So what I'm going to show you is a formal buyer presentation. And then the third phase, after you've made initial contact, after you've done rapport building, is fun. But you'll notice we need to interject something before the fun. And that's the buyer's representation agreement. That's what I advise. That's what I recommend. Even if you don't plan to have a buyer rep, why not talk about making them your client before you have the fun? So even if you don't sign a buyer rep, again, I encourage you to do so. But even if you don't, why not talk to them right then and there after rapport building, before fun, about what it means to work with you. I'd like to work with you, Mr. Buyer. I think I can represent you very well. I don't ask my clients to sign formal buyer's representation agreements. However, I do expect for you to work with me exclusively. I want to make sure we're on the same page with that. Cool. That's better than nothing, but a buyer's rep is the best. And then fun is that third piece. Okay. So before I show you my rapport building buyer book, buyer presentation, I'm going to jump into the initial contact. And again, you've already seen this a little bit in that video we just watched, but I want to go through it again. So let me share this screen over here. Desktop one. Guess it'll be desktop one. All right, so you're gonna see me, seeing me, jump this thing up, make it big. Okay, so here's what I call my BC sheet, my buyer consultation sheet. And again, this serves two purposes. Number one, it helps create your flow. It reminds you of what you should be doing, where you should be going, and how the structure of this consultation should go. Because you're the leader, you're running the appointment. Every buyer is going to come in and want to jump straight to the fun. So here's what I'm looking for, Mr. Agent. I want to find a house, da-da-da-da-da. Hey, acknowledge first, right? There's a formula here. Acknowledge. Okay, man, dude, I want to do the fun stuff too. Believe me, I am ready and queued up. I've got my laptop. I know we want to go look at houses. That's the fun part. I promise we're going to get there. Here's what I'd like to do is I actually want to get some basic information down real quick, guys. Want to make sure we're on the same page, that I've got all my notes updated and accurate. And then I want to go through a little bit about the process, and then we're going to get down to the fun part. Would that be okay with you? Perfect. Come back to initial contact. Now get this stuff down through initial contact. Find out all this basic information. And again, this is the first phase. You don't want it to be like a stale doctor's office checklist. Family, times, job, check, check. No, it's got to be a conversation. So how long have you lived there? Oh, where do you guys live? Oh my gosh, do you ever go to that movie theater? Oh, wow, that's so cool. Yeah, me too. So do my kids. Oh man. All the while you're deciding, are they a dominant driver? Are they C and cautious, S steady, I influencer, DISC personality profile? If you don't know that, go Google it. Spend time learning about the DISC personality profile. So you text, lady, and you like to call, sir. Cool. Emails, either you check email. Who checks their emails? Nobody checks their emails. I don't check my emails. Okay, cool. No problem. Text, calls. That's mostly what we're going to do. There will be some important emails, but I'll text you and call you and let you know to look for them. Sound good? Cool. Most important, do not leave this section until you've nailed down their time frame. Again, it's not a what's your time frame, because most people don't know what their time frame is. So tell me about your current living situation. Are you renting? If so, when is your lease up? Do you own? Okay, cool. Why do you want to sell? Have we done the listing consultation? How do we know if you can afford to buy yet, right? So that's all time frame. So this is all your initial contact phase. And then as you saw, this is something you should be gathering through the rapport building phase. And if not, prior to fun, prior to the end of rapport building, you need to come back and grab this stuff. So one thing we didn't talk about is financing. Let's talk about that for a minute. Ask these questions, okay? This is all your buyer consultation sheet. Just wanted to show it to you first because it helps guide you through initial contact, all right? Now we're gonna kick it over. What did I say is after initial contact? It's rapport building. So what did I say we use for rapport building in the perfect buyer presentation, buyer consultation, sorry. It's late and I'm tired. So we're gonna kick it back to Keynote. All right, the perfect buyer consultation, 3 steps with the little interjection of the buyer's representation agreement. So let's go to step 1. Step 1 is have a professional presentation ready to go, or a professional book. If you don't have a book or a presentation, you're showing up empty-handed. I bring my laptop everywhere. I like the presentation. If I can't use my laptop or don't plan to use my laptop, I definitely bring a book for my consultation, a book that I made. similar to what I'm about to show you. So the goals for today's consultation, Mr. Buyer, first and most important to me, obviously you've seen, I wanted to get to know you guys, because what I'll tell you is this is a huge purchase. This is a big deal. And I'm honored to even have the chance to sit down with you guys, but it's very important that we have a relationship, because I will tell you, this is going to be stressful at various points and we need to have trust built up. Okay? So that's why we're sitting down. That's why we're going through this stuff. That's why we're starting here. And I'll tell you this, pause, outside of the buyer consultation, I'm talking to you, the audience. Very few agents do this. So this stands out to the most experienced buyers. They're like, holy cow, this person is doing a professional consultation with me. No one has seen this. Less than 1% of agents in this country do this. Even the best of the best in most cities don't do this. You will set yourself apart in a huge way by just starting this way professionally. So we're here to build a relationship, Mr. Buyer. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to review the process, and we're going to talk about our agreement to work together and how we actually decide if I'm going to be the agent that's right for you. Does that sound like a plan? Cool. While I'm here, I'm curious, how much do you guys know about the process? How much experience have you had buying a home? When was the last time you bought a home? Ask questions. Remember, even while you're presenting, the goal is to have them talking. These are just your presentation aids. And last but not least, the fun part. We are going to build a game plan, and we're going to start the research process. I know you guys have already looked on Zillow. You've already looked on Realtor. I've brought my laptop here, and I am ready to look at homes today online with you while we set up your game plan. Aside, pause, right? Notice there's 3 phases to the buyer consultation. There's 3 things we're going to cover today. Remember the little interjection of the buyer's representation agreement? Notice that's in bullet point number 2. We're going to review the process and discuss the agreement about how we decide to work together. Okay? Because you got to let them know. If you don't set the expectations up front, they're never going to sign the buyer's representation agreement. If you don't set the expectation up front, they're never going to sign the buyer's representation agreement. If you introduce it for the first time ever at the end, they don't even know what you're talking about. So you need to be referencing the agreement throughout the presentation. So the first thing I like to explain to them, and I really used to love when I drew on my thing, because I would tell this whole story, and I think I might tell the story. I don't expect you to tell the story, but I tell a story. So what I tell everybody is there are 4 phases to buying or selling a home. And since we're talking about the buying process, I'm going to tell you about the 4 phases. The first phase is what I call research. Second phase is what I call shopping. Third is buying. And fourth is the escrow phase. Now, here's a little story I like to tell everybody. Buying a house is like going to Hawaii. Everybody wants to go to Hawaii. It's an amazing place to go and a gorgeous trip. But it takes a lot of planning, and it takes 4 big steps. Now, the first step, if you decide you want to go to Hawaii, is you have to do the research. During the research, you have to figure out how much are flights, what airlines fly there, what are your accommodations, hotel options, are you going to need a car, what are the things you're going to do when you get there, how much money do you have to save up, in what order do you need to buy things, can you book your plane ticket and then book your hotel, or should you do it vice versa, is there a hurricane season? All these things you have to figure out before you can even get what I call your game plan in order. So honey, our plan is we're going to leave in 6 months and we need to save up X dollars. We got to buy tickets by 3 months from now. And we got to book the hotel by 45 days after that. And then we have to do this and that, right? That's research. Exact same thing in buying a house. We have a few things we're going to need to do. I'm going to go through those on the next slide. And we need to get some steps knocked out. Well, guess what? This is one of the big steps. You're sitting here with me. This is how the research begins, because I am a professional in real estate and I'm going to guide you through this journey. Now, shopping, that's pretty fun. Now you know where you want to stay. Now you know where you want to go hotel-wise, and you've got a little bit of money saved up. Maybe it's time to book the plane tickets and reserve the hotel, even though you're not going to pay for the hotel until you get there. But we can go window shopping. We can actually start looking, deciding, showing pictures, clicking around, checking out the rooms, queen size beds or king size. What do we need? That's shopping. That is in the real estate world when we're actually out looking at houses physically. And in the shopping phase, we're actually going to make some offers. We're going to make some offers. But what I'll tell you is most of the time, especially in the beginning, until you understand the market, until you and I have a high level of trust, we may not win the first offer. You might not win the second offer until you decide that you're ready to win and we have a good, strong partnership, then we'll win. Might be the first house, but it isn't always. But that shopping phase is when we're out looking at homes and getting homes. We're going to be working with your lender, and we're going to be talking to the other agents, and we're going to be writing up offers. Okay? Does that sound good? Awesome. Now, one thing I want to tell you, here's a little aside for you, the audience, but I also tell this to the buyer in these consultations. I just don't have it queued up to load into this video for you. So sorry about that. Drop in the comments if you like this video and you want this portion I'm about to offer, and I'll build a video for it. So what I tell them in shopping phases, I say, and one of the things, guys, I keep this in my buyer book, by the way, I say, one of the things I want you to keep in mind while we're shopping, this is really important. The market's really competitive right now, and I'll go in and explain the market dynamics. You know, inventory is low, more buyers than sellers. It's going to be hard to win in certain price points. So what I want to show you guys, and then I'll flip the page in my book, and what I want to show you guys is this, what I call this rating sheet. So this is a rating sheet that we're going to take with us every time we go out and tour properties. And you'll notice it's got a scale of 1 to 10 next to every property. I'm going to ask you to rate homes on a scale of 1 to 10. And if you rate things a 6, 7, 8, we're going to talk about those homes. We're going to talk about what we like and what we don't like, but I'm probably not going to encourage you to write an offer on a home that you rate a 6, 7, or 8. But let me tell you what we're looking for. We're looking for 9s. If you find a 9, that is rare. If it's a 9 for you, it's a 9 for someone else. And if we don't write an offer on that home, you're not going to get a chance to live in it. So when we find a 9, I'm going to encourage you to write an offer. Now, don't be nervous, because that doesn't mean we're flying to Hawaii yet. That just means we have a chance to get to the airport to win this home. Does that make sense? Back to my airplane Hawaii analogy. Not everybody delivers it the same way that I do. Not even telling you need to use that story, but a story helps. So I use stories. So then we're going to move to the buying phase, guys. So this is, we've pulled the trigger, we've gotten the tickets, we've gotten the plane tickets, we've gotten all that good stuff, and now we're at the airport. Well, for us on the real estate side, this means we found the house, we wrote the offer, and now we're negotiating and locking up this contract. That's the buying phase. That can take a couple hours. That can take a couple days of negotiations. Just need you guys to be there with me and pay attention and be along for that ride. And we're going to talk to your lender. We're going to make sure we got the numbers right. So that's what we're going to do in the buying phase. Again, remember, this feels like the airport. You're kind of in purgatory. You don't own the house yet, but you're further along. But think about this, like at any time, you don't feel like going to Hawaii, you can walk out of that airport. Maybe you lost a couple $100 on your tickets or whatever, but you can walk out. You can change your hotel reservations. You're gone. Same thing in this buying phase. At any time, I'm going to be protecting you. We're going to have what's called an option period. We're going to have a lot of protection. We can change our mind in the middle of buying. Okay? I'm not going to advise you to do so, but if it's a 9, but something goes wrong, don't worry. We're okay. Now, that last phase, the 4th phase, is what I call the escrow phase. This means that you are under contract and you are moving forward with the purchase of this home, barring any major catastrophes. This feels like being on the airplane. You're flying. You know Hawaii's almost here, but it's been a long, stressful day. You've been at the airport. Here's the thing about this escrow period. I also call it the contract to close phase. Here's the thing about the contract to close phase. You're the passengers. You're buckled up. I'm not the pilot. The lenders, the title company, and the seller are in the cockpit, but we're not. So things can happen. It can get bumpy. This is where there's turbulence. If there's going to be problems, it's going to be in the escrow period. My job is to bring you drinks, fluff your pillow, make sure you're okay, get you information as soon as possible, and relay information. But I can't land the plane. We can't just close it. The title company, the lender, and the seller all have to work together for us to land this thing. But I can tell you, 99% of the time it lands. Maybe with some turbulence, maybe with a little delay, but it lands. But every once in a while, something can go wrong with your loan, with the home. There's just a million things we can't predict. So I just want you to be prepared that the bumpiest time is near the end, but I'll be along with you the entire time. Just want you to have seen this before. All right. So now let's go through those steps we talked about. So again, there's 4 phases. Step 1 is meet with me, real estate professional. This is uber important. Step 2, we're going to need to talk about getting pre-approved with a mortgage lender. This is all during the research phase. And then step 3, we're going to start doing some searching for homes. We're going to talk about that. That's the fun part at the end of this consultation, like I promised. You're going to ask questions, guys. Like, you're not just going to be talking at them the whole time, right? But I'm just talking at you so you can get your formula down for this buyer consultation. In the shopping phase, we're going to make some offers. We already talked about that. In the sales, the buying phase, we're going to talk about negotiations and contracts. And then these last 3 come in the escrow phase. So you don't have to spend a lot of time on these, but there you go. There's your phases. All right. Next, let's talk about what it actually means for you to get ready to buy. Now, these slides are just extra. I'm not going to go through all of these for you. You're welcome to pause the video, take notes. There's just extra stuff that I can go over with them. Sometimes I'm going faster, sometimes I'm going slower, depending what we're talking about. But these are all different areas you can dive in deeper, all part of building rapport, answering questions, know your presentation. So for example, I'm back here on this slide and all of a sudden they say, but you know what is it like when we actually make an offer? Because my brother said it was really hard to find a house. Well, I'm glad you asked that, Mr. Buyer. Here's what it's like to make an offer. Let me get to these points and we'll keep going, right? So I'm going to keep going through. You're welcome to grab any of the stuff you like. Talk about what it means to get your offer accepted. This is when you're starting to build up to the fun, right? Now, all along this way, I'm going to give you a key phrase here. You're going to say, when we're working together, when I'm your agent, when you work with me, not if, when. When we're working together, when I'm your agent, when I'm representing you, our goals. So you want to create in their mind this picture that you guys are partners and unified, because these consultations can sometimes feel combative, even if you've already done this great a job. Closing costs. If you got personality C types, you want to talk about closing. Now you want to start to build up some fun, right? You're like, so this is where it gets fun, guys. This is like Hawaii. Get our offer accepted. We're landing. It feels so good, so great. Now, the final thing that we're going to do is, of course, you got to understand how much money you're going to bring. This is where we're going to partner with your lender. We're going to know all these things in advance, but there's a lot of stuff we got to go through. That's why we do these consultations. Last but not least, super fun time, closing day. I'm going to meet you there. Stuff you're going to need to have and know. And I'll remind you of all this stuff, you know, again, before we do it. And where is here we go. All right. I didn't mean to have that contact information slide there. I must have moved something around here. There's Jane. There you go. So, all right. Let's see here. Okay. So when I get to the end, right, this is the end of kind of rapport building. Okay. And now what I do at the end of rapport building is I dangle the fun. Okay. So come back here and you say, all right, guys, here's what we've got left. Thank you guys for your patience. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving me all that information and all those questions. So we're about to get to the fun part, as I promised. Here's what I want to do, guys. I want to go through what we talked about earlier and cover how we actually decide to work together. Then literally I bust out the buyer's representation agreement, a paper copy, and I have it with me in there in my folder. And I say, okay, here's what we're going to go through real quick, guys. I want to tell you a little bit about the buyer's representation agreement before we actually start searching for properties. So to let you guys know a little bit about that, what we're going to do is, in order for me to represent you officially as my client and give you my dedicated professional service, we need to agree that we want to work together. Okay. So what that agreement means to me is that I'm going to give you all of my market and process expertise. I'm going to give you fast and frequent communication. And most importantly, you're going to be called what's a client. You're going to be called a client. I don't think I shared that screen with you, did I? Sorry about that. So you're going to be called a client. And it's important to be called a client in my world and in our state, because if we are under representation agreement, you are a client. And if not, you're a prospect or a customer, meaning you're not a client, which means for my business, you can't come first over my clients, because my clients that have chosen to work with me exclusively, that means they're getting my VIP service. They're getting all of me 24/7, as much as I can give, you know, however you want to explain it, guys. But that's what a client means to me. Now, keep in mind what this paper is. It's called an agreement. It's not a contract. And why that's very different is you're not under contract to work with me, to buy a house from me, to buy a house I represent. None of that. We're just agreeing on paper that I want to work with you and you want to work with me. This gives me and you the protection we need under the Texas Real Estate Commission for us to do business together. So that's what this agreement is. Does that make sense? Cool. Last thing I want you to know is this agreement is terminatable. We can terminate it, cut it off, end it, kibosh it for any reason at any time by either party. No cost incurred, no expense to you. So at this point, guys, I'm going to ask you, I feel excited to work with you. I think we are a great fit. Would you guys like to work with me as your agent? Cool. Awesome. Let me slide this paper over. You guys start initialing where it says initials down here at the bottom. There's some signatures at the end. And what I'm going to do meanwhile is I'm going to go ahead and pull up our MLS system and we're going to start looking at some houses. Sound like a plan? Cool. They start signing, they start writing. It's very smooth. Have your pen, have it ready. They just assume it makes sense, and it does because you've set the stage for that, okay? Again, don't worry if they don't. Push them twice. So what is it that I didn't explain, Mr. Buyer? Okay, the agreements. You still have some questions. Well, let's go ahead and just go through the agreement, and then you better be sharp on your agreements, and you better run through the paragraphs and talk to them and explain it. And the bottom line is you don't want the agreement to feel heavy. You don't want them to need to go back and read it or whatever. You're not trying to slide anything by them. There's just no need. All it is us saying we want to work together. For me, it's really about cementing the psychology of deciding to work together. And it's about the protection for you and your brokerage. But that's it. But again, if you don't make them sign reps, you're done. I'd still bring it up because you get burned. You just do. You need to sign reps. But if you don't, no big deal. Let's switch gears and let's get to the fun part. Let's go here. And let's get back to the fun. So the fun is talking about the house. So there's a lot of good stuff with the fun. Bedroom, square footage, stories, the dream house, blah, blah, blah. You're going to ask them some questions, right? Then additionally, come back here. I keep a slide in here for my home search stuff and Keynote. So here's the home search slide. Let's talk about all the stuff. Talk about location and price and square footage and bedrooms and bathrooms. Then I also tell them what their search tools are. So you can search on my site. I'm going to set you up on a search. Go to my website. Anything else you do on your own, send me pictures, send me text, get a list. I tell people to get lists. Put them in spreadsheets. Come back to me with your list. Don't just send me screenshots every day on your phone. That's not a good way for us to stay organized and stay collected. I'm going to set you up on an automated home search, all that good stuff. So that is the fun. Literally at this point, I bust out my MLS. I bring my laptop. I would much rather show them 40 homes on my computer than go show them 40 homes in person. From those 40, we can whittle it down to 4. Anything that is vacant and what's called a go and show through your showing service, you can go see that same day. I recommend before this buyer consultation, based on what you know, you set up a tour for behind this buyer consultation. And if you haven't talked to them in advance, have the tour set up anyways. Have 4 houses you guys can go see that are in close proximity, approximately in their price range that you know of, already set up so that if they're raring to go and excited, you at least have 2 or 3 homes you can go show them. You bring your rating sheet and all that kind of stuff. So that's the other video, the tour process and rating sheet and all that stuff. If you guys want it, let me know. Buyer presentations, I recommend you build one, book or presentation, or at a minimum, bring a notebook and write some things down. If I can help you with any of that stuff, reach out, let me know. And if I can do it, I will. If you need, you want to make this sheet, just pause the video and watch it. If you want to get the sheet or something, put it in the comments. Other things you can do, buyer packets are pretty cool. So buyer packets, you can download these online. You can get some made up, real estate terminology, buyer questionnaires, all kinds of good stuff. So I bring all this stuff in like a folder and share it with them. So that is your perfect buyer consultation. Go win these buyer clients. Drop stuff in the comments if you have questions. Please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to my podcast. It's called the Heating Up Podcast by Kirtus, Kirtus, last name Dixon, Dixon. Come friend me on Facebook if this was helpful. Trying to put out a lot more videos and just help agents be successful. So love you guys. Thanks for watching. Good luck.